Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chiz Okafor. I'm here live at HIMSS 2021, and I'm the Alliance Manager here at Spring ML. And today I have with me David Niewolny, Director of Business Development at Nvidia.
Thanks, Chiz. Excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you again, David, for taking the time to speak with us today. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you do at Nvidia?
So at Nvidia, Chiz, as you mentioned, I'm a Director of Business Development, and really I work with a wider team that is really a startup within a larger organization of Nvidia to really enable AI throughout the entirety of the healthcare industry. So our healthcare practice is growing, it's exciting, and really the entire objective is to enable that industry, enable the healthcare industry to quickly and easily adopt AI.
Awesome. So that's definitely exciting stuff. So I know the topic of the discussion today is around medical imaging. So wanted to just kind of hear more about how you think medical imaging and AI will change the future of healthcare.
So, one, artificial intelligence in general, I think, has a huge opportunity to make an impact across all of healthcare, and that comes from both, operational as well as clinical. And I think one of the areas that we've seen the most impact from a clinical perspective is medical imaging. And I think it's just due to the amount of data that we specifically have around that. And really, frankly, one of the things that brought me to Nvidia, medical imaging is that key data pool. And that data pool continues to grow through both imaging and video data. And to do that, you need a very high performance graphics processor. So with this data that you have, specifically around imaging and the massive amounts of data, you can then begin analyzing that. And you can begin looking for abnormalities. You can basically begin looking for a number of different both clinical and operational efficiencies.
Wow.
So it's really, honestly, a super amazing space.
Yeah.
And, I do think imaging is going to be kind of that first place that really adopts AI.
Exactly. Okay. And can you talk a little bit more about Nvidia in terms of like do you guys have like a dedicated medical imaging offering?
We do. So again, going back to Nvidia's heritage of being in the graphics processing space, medical imaging was a natural first fit for us. And with that, we've basically came up on top of those GPUs with a healthcare specific application framework, and that's called Clara. And specifically for imaging, we have a version of Clara called Clara Imaging. And that does some pretty actually neat things in terms of enabling that industry to adopt AI. I think one of the biggest challenges that you end up running into specifically with building these AI algorithms for medical imaging is having the right data pool.
Yeah.
And you can start with getting the images, but those images really don't mean anything until you label them or annotate them.
Yes.
So one of the key pieces to actually having this Clara imaging offering is that Clara AI annotation.
Yes.
And that ends up being a key piece. So once you have the data, once you're able to label the data, the next piece is actually how do you train and use that data to actually build these algorithms to make these clinical predictions.
Yeah.
And that's another key piece to the Clara imaging offering is Clara Train. So with Clara Train, which is actually built using the Monai platform, so the medical network for artificial intelligence, which Nvidia actually collaborated directly with King's College of London to introduce this. So this is, again, a relatively new platform, but one that's gained an immense amount of traction in the market.
I can imagine,
has now really enabled this, healthcare industry, specifically the medical imaging market, to not only label their data or collect their data, label their data, begin training their data. And the last piece of the puzzle in terms of the Clara imaging platform is a product at Nvidia we call Fleet Command, which actually allows you then to deploy that algorithm back at the point of inference. So really it's a complete solution, almost a flywheel of data in, label the data, send it to train, train the data, build the algorithm, and then send that back to really the medical device. So ends up being almost an enterprise offering as well as a diagnostic offering.
Awesome, awesome. So security is a huge topic, especially in the healthcare space. How do you think AI can help reduce that risk?
Well, there's a lot of different areas. I think, again, AI can play from a security perspective. You know, at Nvidia, we do have some specific application frameworks that do focus just on security. I'd also say it's one of those areas that I think we, use the word health tech ISV. It's basically, a lot of the companies that you do see here have a lot of AI offerings, specifically looking for things like fraud, hacks, and being able to really detect that early. And that is something that we do see across the board, but I also say is not unique to medical imaging. I think it is something that is actually across the board in terms of healthcare.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess what advice would you give developers new to AI that, want to incorporate AI into their design?
It's actually a really great question. I think something that's really timely and something that's coming up a lot right now. Frankly, it's start with the platforms that are already built for you. That's really where I think, Nvidia, I think Google Cloud, I think Spring ML all end up coming into play, because we're basically looking at trying to eliminate, kind of the word that I use is undifferentiated heavy lifting. The things that we end up looking at in terms of a software stack, even starting down at the GPU level, the acceleration libraries with CUDA, and then the application-specific frameworks, which I mentioned in the terms of imaging. You have Clear Imaging, and then Monai. And then with that, I think some of the beauty of the relationship we have in terms of Spring ML and Nvidia is the fact that you've taken that offer and containerized it, and then put it in the Google Cloud. And the fact that you now have that in the Google Cloud, I think just some simple math that we've done, for 33 cents an hour, you can begin developing on the Google Cloud using the Nvidia Clear Imaging toolset. So from that aspect, it really can't get much easier. And that's really the goal and the reason for partnerships like this between our organizations is to make it easy and enable the entire industry.
Exactly. So we've actually developed a solution on the Google Marketplace for Clara 3.0, but we're planning on working on getting Clara 4.0 on as well.
Well, I definitely see, the relationship we have, I think, is as fast as we kind of continue, up-revving our software, making updates, expanding our portfolio. I think the relationship will continue, because I think, as we all know, there's going to be a place for artificial intelligence in devices. There's going to be a place in the micro edge, the macro edge, in the data center, but then also a key place in the cloud. And I think one of the biggest benefits of cloud and cloud technology is that ease of use and the ability to get up and running quickly. That I think in terms of research and development, kind of beginning your journey into AI, exactly what you've done at Spring ML, containerize those solutions, put them in the cloud with the Google Cloud is really what's going to get back to enabling the market, get them to move quickly, and then as they
change
expand,
the future of healthcare, for real.
Artificial intelligence does, I can't even say does have that capability. It fundamentally will. We're on the absolutely very early stages of a transformation. I think, one stat that I think is really cool to share was just in the last year, a pandemic year, I think Deloitte came out with a study that said the number of AI projects that have come out has increased 73%. And another actually really interesting study, maybe not so specific to AI, but McKinsey actually shared that, I think they said, looking at the past, 5 years worth of innovation in healthcare happened in the last 8 months. So a lot of that, again, was focused on AI. And AI, again, the topic of this conversation is medical imaging, but you can also see where AI can play absolutely everywhere. In terms of what we saw going into the pandemic was healthcare institutions all over looking at natural language processing. And how could you end up creating chatbots, call centers, anything that you could, robotic process automation. How can you automate? How can you keep people out of the hospital? And then specifically around the medical imaging piece, how can you start building diagnostic tools that can begin detecting
diseases at a quicker rate
earlier? And even more specifically in the last year, COVID, and the amount of innovation that came out of that was amazing.
Phenomenal, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, David, for taking the time to connect with us. You guys heard David. AI is here to stay, especially when it comes to medical imaging. And here at Spring ML, we're excited to be able to partner with Nvidia and Google Cloud to be able to develop these solutions for you.
Well, again, thanks again. It's been a pleasure speaking with you,
Yeah.
and look forward to the continued partnership.
Awesome.